The year is 1996, and Resident Evil just came out and gave birth to the best genre of all time. No bias there, I swear. Konami saw the money Capcom made and decided to copy off their homework, but they decided to create a team with the nobodies and misfits of the company. So, unsurprisingly, they did shit, missing deadlines to the point Konami simply ignored them. And once they were now on their own terms, and what the nicknamed Team Silent made is incredible. Before we even begin the game, we are handed with a cutscene which gives us a heads up for what we're about to dip our toes into. We begin seeing a young couple holding an infant in what looks to be a farmyard.
Stop fucking crying, bitch! Where?
And after some frames from stuff we'll see later, we see the man and a now grown-up daughter driving in the dark, their older woman tossing and turning and covered in bandages, a cop following our father and daughter, and a young nurse screaming at an unknown man before laughing. As we go back to the man, he notices the motorbike of the cop deserted on the road, and this crazy bitch running in a church.
Vegan sausage rolls.
And our story begins when a young girl in the same clothes as the burn victim steps out on the road, and our guy goes flying as he tries to swerve out the way. Okay, thoughts. First things first, I adore the CGI cutscenes of the first Silent Hill. I know some people find these to have aged poorly, and technically, yeah, they're nowhere near some Death Stranding level of detail.
Nice.
But I think that's what works. The faces barely look human and cross the line of the uncanny valley. Not only that, but these are made by one guy, Takayoshi Sato, who literally spent nights in the office to try and get them finished. Oh, and the music that plays, Silent Hill, yes, that is the name of the song, goes so hard. I've already given my thoughts on Akira Yamaoka's music, but I love him. The overall intro gives us basic context. You know, we crashed into Silent Hill because we didn't want to kill a kid, which, if you ask me, is very unrelatable. But the game also asks questions. Who's this? Who's this? What are the odds that this cop's racist? And all of them, apart from probably the last one, will be answered when we begin the game. We wake up in our car, the outside drenched in fog, and panic instantly sets in when the seat next to us is empty, and the door outside is wide open.
Where'd you go?
Getting out, we see the wreck that our car has become after the crash, but we hopefully should try and find our daughter.
Cheryl, where are you? Strange. It's quiet. Too quiet. This place is like a ghost town. Cheryl.
So we know our kid's name. Cheryl. And already I have something to gush about. I adore the way the town looks in this game. It's definitely most likely the PS1 graphics, but something about the lack of detail in the objects and the fog, as well as the snow falling down, which by the way isn't ash. I know it's not related to the game at all, but I despise the way that the first movie made newcomers think this is linking to the real life Centralia. It's not ash, it's snow. Anyway, something about the presentation of the town with the limitations of 90s hardware makes playing these moments really comfy. And when it goes away later, when this game actually gets under my skin, and we'll talk about these bits later. Walking further through the street.
Footsteps.
Chasing the footsteps, we see Cheryl minding her own business in the empty shell of the streets before running away.
Where are you going? Hey, wait! Stop!
Go and fucking crawl in the dirty, dank little hole where you fucking come from.
Following her footsteps, we find our way into an old walled-down alleyway, and our focus instantly goes to the dead dog on the floor.
Jesus, what is that?
However, the corpse itself is barely recognizable to anything, apart from the bloody red rib cage and entrails spread far away from the body, and blood splattered against the garage. Whatever killed this thing, Cheryl has ran into the same alleyway as, and no matter what, we need to get her and leave. As we move further in, the camera angles become more and more cinematic. So cinematic that the first movie Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V this into its own version of this scene. Also, get ready to see that controller disconnected symbol a billion times in this video. My controller cable is very faulty and it totally didn't happen during gameplay, and that totally didn't get me killed. Entering through the gate, everything becomes much darker, and the sound of an air siren goes off into the distance.
It's strange, it's getting darker. Better than nothing, I guess.
Now with a simple match barely lighting our way, we find some objects that shouldn't be in a normal alleyway. A hospital wheelchair.
Broken wheelchair. What's this doing here?
As well as a hospital bed with a bloody corpse hidden by a blanket.
What's this?
Fuck you mean, what's this? I just said that, Harry! But the path becomes more and more bloody and more metallic, until we find the final thing of this sequence.
What is this? What's going on here?
A corpse hanging against the fence, and its stomach only with a spine left, with bandages covering its face. Turning around, monsters make their way over to you and start to hunt you down. Sure, you can try and run away, but doing so, the exit is blocked off.
Blocked by a fence.
All you can do is die. Okay, can I finally get back to my monologue? Hello? What are you doing here? I'm pretty sure you just went away a bit ago. Excuse me? Sir, this is beginning to scare me. What the hell's going on? What the fuck? We wake up, passed out in a cafe, and we find ourselves with that cop from the first cutscene.
Wakey, wakey.
She asks us if we're okay.
How do you feel?
Oh, like I've been run over by a truck.
Harry, look out!
And afterwards, we make sure to let the cop know that we aren't from this town, and the player too, I suppose. For some reason, we and our daughter went to Stanton Hill for vacation, and afterwards, we ask a question which you're gonna hear a lot in this video.
Have you seen a little girl? Just turned 7 last month. Short, black hair. My daughter.
Sorry. The only person I've seen in this town is you.
The rest of the conversation is pretty much your generic video game. What's going on? Everything going on is crazy. But we finally learn names. Harry Mason is our dude, and the cop herself is Sybil Bennett, who arrived from Brahms, a neighboring town.
I'm a police officer from Brahms, the next town over.
Harry gets up to leave to try and find Cheryl, however, Sybil stops him.
Hold it. Where do you think you're going?
My daughter. I've got to find her.
And also hands him over a gun. Oh yes, you sir, who I've never met in my life, and I don't fully trust. Here's a loaded pistol. Don't shoot me, ha 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 ha. So, now left on our own, we find health drinks, a knife, a map of Silent Hill, and a notepad and pen.
Someday, someone may experience these bizarre events. Hopefully they'll find my notes useful.
I do really like the fact that the save system is a simple pen and paper. In Resident Evil, you get a fancy typewriter, but in Silent Hill, you get to write normally like the little bitch you are. But as we leave, we hear the radio on the table going off. And Harry says the best line in the franchise, better than pizza.
How can you sit there and eat
Boob!
Huh. Radio. What's going on with that radio?
Oh, and guess what? I'm gonna force Sanity to say this because it's funny. Don't tell her.
Huh. Radio. What's going on with the radio?
These are the Air Screamers, and they are a very prominent foe we'll face in the beginning, but I want to talk about the radio itself. Back in my Silent Hill 2 video, I forgot to mention how it works, and I really hate that I did so.
Are you retarded?
Once it turns on, it'll make a loud-ass ringing noise whenever an enemy is nearby, and I'm not gonna lie, it does spark a bit of panic in me. Not as much as another game, again, give me a few hours, shush. Once we kill the creature, we can pick the radio up and leave to go find Cheryl.
Where could Cheryl have gone? Guess I'll check that alley again.
However, on the way to the alleyway, we find ourselves even more Air Screamers, and it's actually not that bad. They do take quite a few bullets to take down, which is why I find it easier just to run past. However, if anything, quickly diving out the way once they try to swing for Harry is actually kind of fun. As well as that, I actually really like the design being a fleshy-ass pterodactyl. A tier. That's right, I'm bringing a tier list into this. So, we make our way over to the alleyway, and what's this? The second enemy! Look, you have no idea how hard I find segueing, shut up. The Groaners take the form of a fleshy dog, and honestly aren't too bad either. They're really easy to run past. And if you haven't got that option, putting them down like old Jella isn't hard either. Anyway, they're the average UK dog named Princess, I guess. They get C tier. But back to the alleyway. Moving to where we were stabbed like the average day in London.
What's it done for me?
We find Cheryl's notebook, with the pages torn out, reading to school. So our next place to maybe find Cheryl is the school. However, we also find the pipe, which is in literally all of these games. And to be honest, it's really bad in this one, as well as the sketchbook itself.
Sketchbook cover. This picture. It's me.
Clearly our daughter is a gifted artist and I'll head nothing else. Going to the school, all the road is caved in and the paper here is telling us to find a doghouse on 11th Street. Kinda annoying, but oh well. Finding the doghouse, we see a key to the nearby house inside. And once we get there, more key searching. Great. The note by the door tells us to search for the keys of Eclipse. The map that points us out to 3 locations. One by a police car, one which has us walk the plank, and the last which is by the head of a dog next to a basketball hoop.
I put a new 4Gs on the G.
These fuckers play basketball with a dog's head. That's metal as shit. Getting all of these keys gives us the keys of Lion, Scarecrow, and Woodman, all of which were a reference to the Wizard of Oz, as well as their respective characters. And I do appreciate how each locale is a reference to these characters. The Lion being next to a cop car, with cops usually being seen as brave.
Have a double chin from this angle.
And the Lion in the movie wishing to be brave. Something, Doghead, and that being heartless, which is the opposite of what the Wood/Tin Man wanted. And Scarecrow got turned into a fucking plank. Unlocking the door, and the second Harry steps outside, it becomes nighttime. The key to Eclipse was actually literal.
What? It's getting dark again. What's going on?
Also, I love how you can see the game load the town in this section. The point of the fog was originally used to hide the map loading itself, but once it becomes night, the effect is gone. The reason originally was because it was hard to notice this at night with a shitty CRTV. I don't know, I just find it funny that everyone comments on how smart Team Silent were by hiding and loading in a clever way, only to see that happen anyway. Bitching aside, we make it to Midwich. Entering the school, and there's a very big elephant in the room. And that's the fact that the enemies in the school are different to what they're meant to be. This is because the main enemies who usually have her, the Grey Children, take the form of weird-looking kids with knives. How British of them.
Can't do it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
But the reason they aren't in the game is because the version I'm playing, the European version, just got rid of them due to it simply looking too much like you're shooting kids. I'm fairly certain we did this with the first two Fallout games too. But do you know what version lets you shoot the Grey Children in a school? The American one. I'm not saying anything else. Now, the monsters that were in my version, the Mumblers, are kind of adorable. I don't know why, but I just want to give them a hug. But anyway, both these creatures jump at you and latch onto you while dealing damage. And I'm not gonna lie, these guys never fail to piss me off. Especially in the later half of this area where I spent an hour trying to beat this. I really shouldn't have done my first run on hard difficulty. Anyway, the Grey Children get F tier due to me not seeing them when making the video, and the Mumblers get B tier. They're adorable, but also drive me up the wall. Walking over to the receptionist desk, we find two notes scattered around.
It's written in blood.
10 o'clock, Alchemy Laboratory. Golden in an old man's palm, the future hidden in his fist, exchange for sage's water. 12 o'clock, a place with songs and sound. A silver guidepost is untapped in lost tongues, awakening at the ordained order. Both these notes we can use to figure out the puzzles of this vocation, as well as the times on each note, which lets us figure out the locations of each. And also, as well as this, the room next door, we find a very happy painting.
Picture of a door. I don't know who drew it, but it was certainly in bad taste.
The painting itself shows a weird-looking door with two weird-looking corpses. I don't know about you, but I would love to have this in my painting gallery. And entering what I think is a playground has a clock tower with two engravings, which we must put medallions into to do something. The first medallion is in the grip of a hand, which is loosened when using chemicals. I don't know, editing me, play a clip from Breaking Bad or something.
You are not pizza. You're not capable of being
Pizza!
However, the next puzzle is infamous for how difficult it is, and it's the piano puzzle. Entering the music room on the first floor, we find a piano as well as a note on the whiteboard. First flew the greedy pelican, eager for the reward. White wings flailing, then came a silent dove, flying beyond the pelican, as far as he could. A raven flies in, flying higher than the dove, just to show he can. A swan glides in to find a peaceful spot next to another bird. Finally out comes a crow, coming quickly to a stop, yawning and then napping. Who will show the way? Who will be the key? The piano contains a mix of keys that either do or don't play any sound. The note itself is the tale of the birds without a voice, so therefore the keys we need to press are the ones that don't make a sound. With the birds, we need to press the keys that align with the bird's colour. For example, the raven is a black key and the pelican is a white key. And how far the birds fly are where they are placed on the piano, in the order of what bird is told on the poem. Anyway, I'm a stupid dumbass who looked up a guide. Shush. On our way to switch off the generator, we look into a room full of lockers, and opening the locker...
Just a cat.
Wow, cute cat, you got me. Oh fuck. I adore this jump scare. There's nothing that incredible about a cat making loud cat noises. There's that awful feeling that I just got when the cat was killed. Also minor foreshadowing. Turning off the generator, we enter the clock tower after inputting the medallions, and as we enter, the sirens that we heard in the dream play again, and as we get out, we loop back into the school, also finding a weird symbol on the floor.
I don't remember this being here before.
Entering the school again, and it's a bloody metallic nightmare.
Radio.
And I love it. This is easily the most iconic look for a Silent Hill Otherworld. Something about the rustic vibe that Silent Hill 1 has. And again, PS1 graphics. I don't know why, but it's a style that I've always wanted to pick up in my art. Now, Do you remember that funky door from earlier? It's back. And if we put in a card we found earlier in the door, it opens up. Also, magic bathroom. Entering this one teleports us to the next floor of the building, and enter the next bathroom.
A hanging body. This is sick.
We find... shotgun montage. The area itself is with a lot more mumblers, and it got to the point where I was beginning to get pissed off with how much I was dying over and over and over. During this Groundhog's Day of repeated deaths, we get a phone call.
Daddy? Help me. Daddy? Where are you?
Cheryl!
That was Cheryl's voice. She needs me, but how do I find her? Cheryl...
The scene is perfect. It really feels like everything in this place is trying its hardest to fuck with Harry by making him scared for Cheryl's safety. Let's fast forward a couple of minutes. Sorry, past me. More we didn't talk about. Creepers, they're bugs. F tier. What more do you want me to say? They're fucking bugs. Though they were passed over into Silent Hill 2, most likely because Team Silent couldn't decide on a 9th enemy and panicked. Back to me recording the talkie just before I edited this. Shush. To get a key in a drain, which we must turn a valve to make a water push it down. However, to block the other hole, we need to use a stress ball as a blockage. Yes, it's that dumb. And to find yet another key, we have to go back to the scary locker room from before. Look, all I'm saying is please do not scare me. Oh. I guess that was... Alright, I guess I can talk about the first boss now. Just as we're about to leave the school, we enter this area, which just screams boss arena, and this weird little guy comes in to say hi.
Hey man, I'm gonna eat you.
This is the split head, and he's just a silly little... He killed me in one hit. This is gonna be fun. Look, I need to say something. I made this fight way harder than it needed to be. Essentially, I had barely any ammo and barely any health, so I had to beat the first phase by whacking with my pipe, which didn't go well.
Oh! What the hell is wrong with you?
However, the phase that has the insta-kill attack is actually foreshadowed to us at the start. Earlier, we find an old storybook / fairy tale, and in it reads, "Hearing this, the hunter, armed with bow and arrow, said, 'I will kill the lizard,' but upon meeting his opponent, he held back, taunting, 'Who's afraid of a reptile?' At this, the furious lizard hissed, 'I'll swallow you up in a single bite.' Then the huge creature attacked, jaws open wide. This is what the man wanted. Calmly drawing his bow, he shot into the lizard's gaping mouth. Effortlessly, the arrow flew, piercing the defenseless maw, and the lizard fell down dead.
It's from an old fairy tale. I remember reading this as a kid.
Essentially, the move itself has the ability to kill us in one attack. However, attacking the split head while it's got its open mouth deals way more damage. Honestly, it's a really good fight. I really like it. Also, split head gets A tier. I forgot to mention this in the script. Killing the beast, we watch a young girl appear and then disappear into the distance. I wonder if she's related to the plot.
Miss?
Oh god. Wait. It's you.
Ever actually got your name?
Jesse. You said you were Aggy or something? Great. Looks like my fears of the Silent Hill lore being ruined is coming to play. So we find a key to someone near Kay Jordan's house. And going there, we take a shortcut to the other side of the town, which allows us to make our way to the church that's ringing.
I hear a church bell, I think. Who is ringing it?
And doing so, we find this crazy bitch. This is Dahlia Gillespie, and,
I knew you'd come. I see everything. Nothing is to be gained from floundering about at random. You must follow the path. The path of the hermit concealed by flowers.
Kill yourself.
Yeah, and just none of that, apart from the thing about going to hospital.
Make haste to the hospital before it's too late.
Although what's funny is that she said us coming here was foretold by the practice of gyromancy. And if you don't know, which you're watching a YouTube video, of course you don't, gyromancy is the practice of making a circle with letters and walking around it. And every time the person falls onto a letter, they write it down until they get a sentence. The fact that this woman did so without dying is insane. Either that or she's lying. She gives us some pyramid thing. which she calls a flowers. That and a key to the drawbridge to get us to the other side of town. Also, I really want to comment on this crazy woman's attire real quick. Her robe is fine, even if a bit tacky. However, whatever she has on her top looks like an oversized tie, and that's really funny to me. And also she's barefoot, and this woman walks across the snowy Silent Hill like this. And as someone who has gone out in snow barefoot, it is not fun. And before we go to the hospital, we can take a quick detour to the police department, and as well as some ammo, and oh my god,
Tell me how many
Oh.
lore!
calories I need, bitch!
Corona Seals called. Officer Gucci is likely to be murdered. He apparently died naturally, but medical records show Officer Gucci had no prior symptoms of heart disease.
This one isn't that important, but for some reason the cops of the town seem to either die to an unknown illness, or it's been a murder.
Product only available in select areas of Silent Hill. Raw material is White Claudia, a plant peculiar to the region. Manufactured here? The dealer equals manufacturer?
This is an important note, as the substance of White Claudia is used as a drug sold in Silent Hill. We don't know why this is relevant, but we have our own Walter White in Silent Hill. As well as the police department, we also find a new enemy in the business area of Silent Hill. These are the Rompers, and good god, I hate them. They jump on top of you and deal insane damage. They aren't that bad or complex, but good god are they a pain in the ass to try and dodge. F tier. Fuck them.
Fuck him.
As we make it to the hospital, we explore into the director's room and...
Kitchen gun!
This is Dr. Michael Kaufman, and he seems to be a bit... trigger happy. We can also see the corpse of an air screamer on the floor, so at least we know that this guy's combat competent. Most of the conversation here is the pair talking about how crazy everything is once again.
Did you see those monsters? Have you ever seen such aberrations?
Well, you know what? You can fuck off then, yeah?
Except the fact that Kaufman claims to have taken a nap in the staff room, only to have waken up to everything gone to shit. Oh, and we get the second, have you seen a little girl, short black hair, 7 years old? But Kaufman's response is a bit...
She's missing. I'm sorry. But with all those monsters around, I highly doubt that she's...
My son died in my own arms a few days ago.
harsh. The only last thing of note in this conversation is where the doctor asks Harry if his wife is on vacation with him, only to be told that she's been dead for a while. This is kind of why I wish I covered Silent Hill 1 first before Silent Hill 2. Actually, hang on, spoilers for Silent Hill 2. If you haven't played it yet or haven't watched my video,
Don't watch it!
play the game, watch the video, or skip this timestamp. But I think Silent Hill 2 plays in this game's expectations of what we know with a man whose wife is dead. As, spoilers, Howie didn't kill her, and then flips on his head by having James kill his wife. But at the same time, single dad, a lot of respect. Anyway, Kaufman gets going, and in the room next to him, we can find a newspaper article with a clipping taken out.
I'm not saying it was you. I know, man. I'm saying it was...
We can take a trip down to the basement where we power up the elevator, but towards the elevator itself, in the kitchen, we find a glass vial, and in the storage room, we find a bizarre liquid.
Glass vial lies shattered. It's not just broken, it's been smashed to bits.
However, we can pick it up using the glass vial, which is necessary later.
What's this?
Remember it. Making it to the elevator, we explore the first 2 floors.
Oh, dang it! Oh, dang it!
As we make it back to try and find another way, there's a mysterious new 4th floor added, which going up takes us back to the other world. Oh, and also the number 4 is the number of bad luck in Japan. It probably means nothing, but it's an interesting coincidence.
This film takes place less than a year after the September 11th terrorist attacks.
Alright, back to the tier list. As we explore the new version of the hospital, we find the next enemy. This is the puppet nurse, and they're the original of everyone's favourite. Look, I have a thing for nurses in this franchise, don't judge me. And despite the fact that I want to shag them, they're also pretty fun to fight. By that, they may be the only enemy to grab you and not deal damage, which makes them actually nice to deal with melee. And speaking of melee, they're the best to deal with the weapon we find in this area, the hammer. It may be heavy and cause Harry to stop in his tracks, but at the same time, the fast speed and massive damage is awesome.
I love you!
Hammer. And because being grabbed by a nurse doesn't deal damage, using the hammer in this area as a way to not waste ammo is a great idea, and really helps you out for your first playthrough. But anyway, the puppet nurses get an easy S tier. They're really fun, even if they're easy as hell. It also helps at the heart. Oh, and there's also male nurses, or doctors, or whatever. They get B tier. Same reasons I like the nurses, just my final point doesn't stand. To make our way to the elevator again, which allows us to finish this fucking level, we need to find 4 stone tablets to place into a door. The tablet of the Hatter is in a normal hospital room, however is guarded by sentient fucking tentacles, which we distract with a blood bag.
You're so like blood. I love blood.
The tablet of a cat is in the back of a simple hospital room. The tablet of the queen is on a desk in the director's room, and the tablet of the turtle is found in the men's bathroom. However, when we go back to the door, we are given yet another riddle. Yay! Clouds flowing over a hill, sky on a sunny day, tangerines that are bitter, lucky four-leaf clover, violets in the garden, dandelions along a path, unavoidable sleeping time, liquid flowing from a stashed wrist.
You're so edgy.
Essentially, the way you solve this is by comparing each colour that is represented on the note, such as clovers being linked to the colour green and blood being red. Well done, that's your hint for this puzzle. We are now allowed to go back into the elevator, where we can move down to the basement, and in one room, we find a VHS tape.
I like to touch them.
However, with no player that we saw on our adventure in the hospital, we have to hold on to it to see whatever funny video may be on it. As well as this, to go further down, we have to move a shelf that is covering an extra area, and with vines that are covering the hatch down. We can channel our inner arsonist by combining some chemicals we found along with a lighter. And now, we finally reach the sub-basement. We stumble across a room with nothing but a single bed.
What's this? What's this?
What's this?
There's white things in the air.
What is this?
And a desk with a photo of a young girl, her name written out in the frame.
Alyssa?
We don't know who this is, but she looks to be similar to the same girl we saw back in the school, as well as who we saw on the road, which caused us to be here in the first place.
My name is David!
But for whatever reason, she is important enough to be given her own place in the basement away from everything else. Next to the frame is a key to the room, which will allow us to leave the hospital. However, before we do, we aren't alone in this room. This nurse is Lisa Garland, and I really like her. No, not in that way. Okay, maybe a little. The reason this is because she genuinely seems like one of the few characters here who's actually somewhat fazed by what is going on, immediately gripping onto Harry for comfort. She asks
Harry,
where everyone is,
tell me
and
what's
concludes
happening.
that she must have gotten knocked out.
I must have gotten knocked out.
Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done this.
To find herself in the situation she's in, which, if you think it sounds familiar, is the same kind of story that Kaufman assumed for himself. So whatever reason as to this must actually be linked. Oh, what's that? You want to ask for a repeated catchphrase? And once again,
A 7-year-old girl. What, she's your daughter?
Yes.
A 7-year-old girl. I can't say that I have. I was unconscious all—
nothing. The final question Harry asks her is if she knows about what we found back in the basement, and, well...
We're under strict orders never to enter the basement storeroom.
So it turns out nurses and doctors were given strict orders to never enter the basement for any reason, which continues to arouse suspicion for who this Celeste girl is. But before we can say anything else, the air horn sounds off again, causing Harry to shit his pants and pass out in shame. Waking up, we find Dahlia next to us.
Well, fuck off!
And I hope you're ready for me to struggle to understand what she means again. She claims that the town is being devoured by darkness, and this has something to do with the devil, and the symbols that we found are his. Anyway, she wants us to go to the other church, because for some reason she can no longer do anything herself, and now wants us to do all the work like the good little femboy we are.
This is beyond my abilities. Only you can stop it now.
Loser! You're a loser!
Giving us a key to the antique shop, which playing this, I was so thrilled to play through this area. Look, what's appealing about antique shops? Look, why are you here?
I'm here to remind you of the earth. I take on many forms, and this is what you expect to see in this location.
Dude, sounds insane.
Can't believe we're agreeing on something for once.
You can shrug me off however much you want, but we both know what you really are.
Listen, buddy, I don't know who the hell you think you are, and frankly, I don't care. Fuck off back to where you came from, or so help me.
Very well, but don't expect me not to return.
Entering the town again, and oh god, I hate this song. This one is called The Devil's Lyric, and oh god, does this one make me uncomfortable. I adore how Akira Yamaoka's music changed my feeling of exploring the town from casually just running around and maybe pretending to be angry at air screamers, to genuinely getting really uncomfortable, feeling my heart racing. But there's nothing new in this area, so we can at least fast forward. Making our way to the antique shop, we find another bookshelf blocking a hole. Before we make our way in, we see Sybil again.
I'm glad you're okay.
No, fuck off.
I shouldn't have left you. Things are worse than I thought. It's nuts.
What are you doing here?
I thought you left town.
She tried to find her way out of the town, however, similar to what we found ourselves, all of the ways out have been blocked by potholes.
Road work ahead? I sure hope it does.
We asked again if she saw anything with Cheryl, however...
I did see a girl.
Was it Cheryl?
She did see another girl disappear into the distance, almost as if she was walking on air. Yeah, it's probably a lesser again. If anything weird has to do with women that isn't Cheryl, it's best to assume it's a lesser. We finally ask about Dahlia, and she knows nothing about her, but assumes something that we were all thinking.
I met this bizarre woman. Her name's Dahlia Gillespie. Do you know her?
Dahlia Gillespie? No. And?
She said something about the town being devoured by darkness. Gibberish like that. Any idea what it means?
Darkness devouring the town? Must be on drugs.
I love cocaine!
But she does mention the drug trade that we heard back in the police station, and either Dahlia has something to do with the production of White Claudia, or is something to do with the consumption of White Claudia. To be honest, it's probably the latter. The pair then go check out the funny hole, and Sybil offers to go in, you know, being a cop.
No. I'm going.
Christ, Harry, chill. We go inside and we find a weird-looking painting as well as an altar.
Some kind of powder is left in the chalice.
We also find an axe on stand, which we can use as a weapon, but it is kind of shit, sadly. Making our way out, and then the altar sets itself on fire. Cutting back to Sybil, she makes her way inside and sees that Harry got transported into the Diddy dimension. We end up finding ourselves back in the hospital with Lisa again, and apparently Lisa don't look too good, but honestly, I think he's just overreacting. It's only PS1 Garrick syndrome. She's gonna be fine. What'd you say to that, Leon? Harry asked Lisa if she knows anything about Dahlia Gillespie.
Yes, Dahlia Gillespie.
Apart from being notable across town due to her
gyromancy
uniqueness, Dahlia is quite introverted, so people such as Lisa don't know much about her. However, rumor has it that her daughter passed away in a fire, and this has caused her to go insane. Asking Lisa about what Dahlia said of the town being devoured by darkness, we are importantly told that everyone in town used to follow some sort of religion involving the occult. This was before Silent Hill was turned into a resort location.
Everybody followed some kind of queer religion.
Alright, video's over. Silent Hill is DEI. Something interesting though is that multiple of the town's founding members have passed away in horrendous accidents, with saying it had something to do with a curse, which maybe I'm trying my hardest to grab straws where I can, but with what we've heard of Officer Gucci's fate, it could be linked to what happened with him. Anyway, there's a cult in Silent Hill, and I do kind of prefer the cultist themes in this game as compared to all in the head stuff from other games. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, it's just something that draws me in more. Lisa apologizes for rambling. I'm glad to see someone else who apologizes for nothing, and then the screen fades back before we are transported back to the antique shop. However, its layout has changed due to transitioning back to the other world.
Was that another dream? Did I pass out again?
I don't want to think so, but maybe this is all just going on in my head. I could have had a car accident and now I'm lying unconscious in a hospital bed. I don't know what's real anymore.
Walking out, we now see that the town has become night again, but this time the floor has now become a rusted metal grate, something similar to what we saw back in the opening scene. Die into a romper, again, fuck these guys.
Jesus fucking Christ.
We restart the search in the spooky town. The camera points to a broken gate, which we can enter. Inside, we enter the average UK shopping centre, being completely empty and broken down. Walking up the escalator causes a stack of TVs to trigger, displaying a video of Cheryl, and again, she calls out for Harry's help, but with the symbol of Samael that Dahlia warned us about, and that we saw in the school. Thank you, knockoff virgin.
That's meant to be Sony.
Following the static that is causing the radio to trigger, this causes the floor that we are standing on to fall, and then begin the second boss fight. This monster itself takes the form of a giant worm, or a centipede. Now, I need to be honest with you, this fight, called the Twin Feeler, I find kinda shit. The way it works is that it will crawl across the sandy arena, and will crawl into the ground, peeking up to try and hit Harry. To avoid this attack, we can stand on this metal grate, which it can't peek onto, so we can shoot the Twin Feeler after moving out of the way as a safe way of dealing damage. Now, on paper, this boss fight sounds incredible. It's got enough going on to be unique. My only complaint is that almost every time I shoot the Twin Feeler, he would nudge me ever so slightly, causing me to miss my shots and waste ammo. It does make me happy that speedrunners skip this by having the romper jump onto them, making them fall into the antique shop, which forces them out of bounds and teleports them to the literal next fight, which we will talk about later. You know what? This would redeem this romper slightly in my eyes. They can sit next to the Twin Feeler in C tier 2. In the arena with the Twin Feeler, trailer, we come across our next weapon. Here we find the hunting rifle,
Mental sickness.
which, as I said in my Silent Hill 2 video, is easily the best weapon we can find. However, what I didn't do best to describe it with was that personally I associate it with Silent Hill's version of the Magnum from the Resident Evil series, which is an incredibly strong and powerful weapon, but with the drawback of ammo being extremely hard to come across. As well as this, similar to the sledgehammer, aiming this rifle causes Harry to stand completely still, most likely as he takes his time to hit his shots. Now that we can go through the rest of the town, we should go back to the hospital to make sure that Lisa's okay. However, we can return to the police department, as although there isn't any new notes to read through, we're going to come across more bullets.
Welcome to the stash.
We talk to Lisa and give her the best comfort ever.
I'm going to kill you, and then kill you again.
Okay, niceness over. Lisa, how do we go to next area?
There's a waterworks over by my old elementary school. It's been abandoned for years. There's an underground tunnel out there used for inspections or something. I remember hearing it runs all the way to the lake.
Okay, bye bitch. Oh, it looks like the twin feeler evolved. The now named Float Stinger is a much better boss fight. It now takes on the form of a moth and has an arguably far better design than before. However, this boss fight does actually have some complexity to it. Whilst it floats and periodically stings or shoots acid at you, we are situated in this area. However, you can choose between a pretty decent sized section with enough room to dodge its attacks, but with the drawback of zero cover, or you can go up and find an area with a bit of cover so we can just sit and deal damage. However, with zero room to run around if things go south. The Float Stinger gets an easy S tier, easily my favourite fight in the game. Is he gone?
Looks it. Dude was probably high. Who the hell wears that kind of shit?
I guess. But I can't help but feel a bit creeped out though.
Just try and distract yourself, please.
I just feel like something's wrong.
Jesse, you've been through a lot.
Guess. I just don't want this to be another Markiplier incident.
Hey, remember, if that never happened, that guy wouldn't have left you with me.
Yeah, you're right. God, I can't believe I'm actually starting to like you.
You wanna watch Utopia for the 18th time?
Sure. Killing the monster
Every fucking time!
again, causing the sirens to go off and the other world to go away. But we can now make our way to the waterworks. And oh my god, it skips you right to it. Team Silent, I love you.
This must be the waterworks Lisa was talking about. The lock is worn out. May be able to break it if I hit hard.
Fun fact, this lock takes a good few hacks with the axe because...
The lock has health?
Alright, boys, girls, non-binary pals, I have bad news. So that we can get to the other side of Silent Hill, it's sewer level time. Yay! Listen here. I utterly despise sewer levels, and I do not understand why every fucking survival horror game needs a sewer level. Resident Evil 2 and 3, Outlast, Prior Fear. Heck, I'm casually playing through My Friendly Neighborhood, and guess what? Sewer level! The reason I hate these is because they almost always completely oppose the game that they're in's art style, and opposed to boring, grey, slimy corridors. And my criticisms of sewer levels do not change here. Heck, there aren't even any interesting puzzles. We just find keys and backtrack to the door that unlocks. Twice. I'll talk about the latter on its own. It's actually one of the few good things I have to say about this area. However, the sewers offer us another enemy, and I won't lie, I've lost count of what enemy this is. Editing me, tell me which one it is.
How about new?
These little guys, whose name is the Hand Scratcher, take the appearance of what looks to be a large grasshopper. And honestly, they're really forgettable. Other than their cute little approach of coming at you by swinging off the ceiling, which does look very cool. But honestly, I legit forgot that even existed until I looked back into my recordings. Yes, I use these as notes. I don't know, C tier. I adore their designs and animations, but again, forgettable. Now, if you remember that point where I mentioned that there's a point I actually find decent, well, we do need to do some fast forwarding. So unlike the gate that we need to use to get to the ladder, which lets us out of me bitching about sewer levels, we move through multiple gates in search of the key until we find a gap in the floor marked with blood. And the key inside of the water. But grabbing this key causes all the Hanged Scratchers to sniff you out and chase you to the exit. And quite honestly, this was so stressful. It is a very good change from slowly killing everything or running past everything at your own pace. Good job, you made a dumpster fire level into a simply just mid-level. Once we leave and I put my complaints back into the complaint drawer, we open up to the Silent Hill Resort area, which we can just completely bypass. What's that? You can explore this area? No, I can't hear you.
What's this?
We now see the town shift back to the fun world before our very eyes.
Not again. Oh, this time feels different. Rather than shifting from reality to nightmare, this is more like reality becoming a nightmare. I don't like this feeling. Like something bad will happen. No doubt something terrible is going on.
And it seems that the town was getting more and more unstable, as it shifted back from the normal and otherworld at any reason. Running forwards to this area into a nearby boat, we come across Sybil again.
Sybil!
Harry!
Chicken truck!
Once again following Harry, asking if we were the ones who cut the fence earlier. Although he's a little pissed about how he disappeared and left her in the antique store / church thing.
I'm glad you made it. I was worried about you.
You were worried? Where did you disappear to?
And I won't lie, listening to this, it did give me flashbacks to that one scene with Maria back in Silent Hill 2. Importantly, in this conversation, Harry comes up with a theory. The game! I hate myself. That wasn't even the script, I just fucking hate myself. Anyway, Harry comes up with a theory, which quite honestly, if you know the way Silent Hill works, it shouldn't come across as a shock to you.
This may sound really off the wall, but listen to me. You've got to believe me. I haven't gone crazy, and I'm not fooling around. At first, I thought I was losing my mind, but now I know I'm not. It's not me. This whole town, it's being invaded by the other world. The world of someone's nightmarish delusions come to life. Little by little, the invasion is spreading, trying to swallow up everything in darkness. I think I'm finally beginning to understand what that lady was talking about.
We don't really know whose inner thoughts are affecting the town, but it could be Harry, it could be Cheryl. Heck, considering how much of a mad lass she is, it could be Dahlia. Whatever this is, our mission doesn't change. We still need to find Cheryl.
But I do know Cheryl is there.
Oh my god, who the hell cares?
Oh, you're having a laugh, it's...
Dahlia Gillespie.
Once again, goes in, saying that the demon is awakening us men. As well as this, it's swallowing up more and more of the world, with only 2 symbols located in a lighthouse, as well as the lakeside amusement park left. And once this is over, the demon, Samael, devil, whatever, its consumption of the town is finished if we don't stop it. And in the end, hell will come upon Earth, and will kill everyone on this planet. Fun! Honestly, I didn't believe it at first, but I think this game villain might actually be Satan. But to stop this, and save Cheryl, we must stop the demon that takes the form of the girl that we've seen a billion times so far. Ignoring that flame we saw which actually showed her name, maybe this makes sense. Or maybe the demon is possessing her. Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you, Dahlia, I trust you now.
Gyromancy.
Sybil makes her way over to the amusement park, and before Harry goes on his merry way over to the lighthouse, Dahlia stops him and tells him to use the funny triangle flowers thing.
Hey, Rents.
Triangles.
So we make it to the lighthouse, and going up the stair with an objectively pretty cool camera angle, I just pushing it up, didn't have Harry running into a wall. We reach up, however, find the symbol glowing and the Alessa demon thing. Look, I'm just going to continue to call her Alessa, okay? We see Alessa slowly teleport out of there.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
Damn, I was too late.
We're too late. So we do the walk of shame out the lighthouse and back to the boat. However, both Sybil and Dahlia are nowhere to be seen. We essentially just have to sprint our way over to the amusement park in case we are too late. Before we go down to the sewers with the entrance to them being protected by the most annoying groaners on the planet.
The cover has been removed. Could Sybil have gotten to the amusement park from here?
We get a cutscene of Sybil exploring the sewers. However, as she turns to the corner, she fucking dies or something, I don't know. Alright, literally nothing notable in the sewers again this time. There aren't any cool puzzle or even moments. And the only thing added here are the Mumbers. However, because of the version I'm playing, we already met them in the school. So, fast forwarding, we now find ourselves in the Lakeside Amusement Park, and for what little we see of this area, I really like the vibe. Seeing the other world take over and coming across abandoned attractions with the music blaring out from the damaged speakers. As we explore, we come across an abandoned carousel. And oh look, Sybil's there! But it seems that she's been infected by the same parasite controlling the nurses back in the hospital. And it seems she lost control. We have no other choice but to put her out of her misery. However, good lord, is this fight a pain in the ass. It's a good pain in the ass, but a pain in the ass nonetheless. During this fight, Sybil uses her gun, and getting shot understandably deals a ridiculous amount of damage. And on hard mode, it insta-kills Harry the Mason. And although doing this is extremely hard for me, it's kind of fun ducking and weaving from Sybil's shots like this. And once we either deal enough damage or Sybil runs out of ammo,
I need more bullets!
We move on to the second phase. Here she runs up to Harry like a random homeless guy on crack and tries to pistol whip Harry. This phase is much easier. It didn't change the fact that I probably had a concussion from being smacked on the head with a heavier slab of metal. Sybil's fight gets Esther, even if playing this on hard had me snap my controller.
What in the hell? How could this have happened?
Leaving the carousel, Harry comes across Alessa and asks her to simply just let Cheryl go.
Hold it right there. I don't know who you are or what you're trying to do, and I don't care. Just one thing. Let Cheryl go. That's all I ask.
However, she uses some magic powers or something to push Harry out of the way and to create a force field blocking him. But this causes the flowers to go off in Harry's pocket, which she pulls out to seemingly stop whatever power she has. But that's when Dahlia shows up, and Alessa calls Dahlia. Dahlia was Alessa's mum the entire time, and the warnings that Dahlia warned us of hell coming up to Earth was what she wanted the entire time, and Alessa was only trying to stop her. But Dahlia tricked Harry into stopping Alessa instead, and teleports Alessa with her and vanishes as the screen goes black. When Harry wakes up, he finds himself back in the hospital with Lisa again, though it seems something is more off with her. However, she then tells Harry that she was thinking about what Harry told her in the basement, which caused Lisa to look into it herself. But as she went down there, other than the weird rooms, she had a weird feeling. And then the cutscene glitched out for me, so I kind of have to look up this cutscene, so that's really cool. Lisa asks for help, and despite Harry trying to rationalize it as a response for being knocked out, she decides to sprint out the room, saying he doesn't understand and leaving Harry on his own. Leaving the room, we aren't in the same hospital we were in before. We move across a long, winding bridge, making our way into an elevator.
I'm being summoned. What happened in this town? What could be making things like this? I have a feeling if I take the elevator down, I'll find it.
Welcome to nowhere, and honestly, I have very mixed thoughts on it. The main concept is that it's a combination of every location we've been in thus far, with a connection being the hallways of the hospital. But my main complaint is that they didn't go far enough in that direction. There are a couple of areas that are taken from the non-hospital areas, such as the basement leading to a classroom from the school, which allows us to grab a screwdriver for some pliers for puzzles, or how the save is located in the antique shop, or how the third floor is the other church. Those are all the examples. Everything else is Alchemilla again. Use the pliers on the sink with a key on it and get the key of a file, which is used to unlock a door, which moves us to the second floor of the hospital. But not the second floor of nowhere. I'm not sure if it makes sense, but it's the easiest way I can explain it. And in the hallway of nowhere are two puzzles. One which I found easier than doing your mum, and another that was so hard my brain fell up my ears.
I'm gonna use this video.
So we'll go the latter, definitely for it being easier, and not because if I say this one after, it will lose the impact of a certain scene. The first puzzle shows a room with photos of animals, the numbers under them, and photos also on an altar with number dials. One of these animals, a bull, is on the altar as well as on the wall, and it has the number 4, which at least we know one of the codes for these. So I guess I should explain the solution. With the ball, we notice it has 4 legs, and the number is 4. So if we count the number of legs on the organisms on the wall, comparing them to the number below, the center on the plaque has 6 limbs, so therefore we use the number 6. And the last is 2 children, both with 4 limbs, so therefore the answer is 8. Inputting all of these, the stone in the altar comes out, and we retrieve the stone of time, which you can use to put onto the clock in the antique room, which gives us the key of Haggith.
Get your Haggith right here!
Now the much easier puzzle we solve in the hallway. At the end of the hallway is this riddle or whatever, names engraved on a lithograph. The Grim Reaper's list. Yes, the head count is set, young and old lined up in order of age. Then the pathway opens, waiting for them, the frenzied uproar, the feast of death. With a list of staff names as well as the age of each, and putting the first name of each doctor in the order of youngest to oldest, which gives us the word alert. And inputting that into this 1990s point-and-click looking ass keyboard unlocks the door. And exploring this new entrance, we come across what looks to be a Star of David on the wall, entitled The Amulet of Solomon. However, as we leave, we come across Lisa again, and it's here where she figures it out, why she's the only nurse alive, and it's because she is dead. She just didn't know. She moves close to Harry, asking to save her, but he pushes her away, causing her to run away, and what happens next? You just have to see for yourself. I fucking adore this scene. What happens doesn't need explaining. Lisa just transformed into a puppet nurse and slowly moved over to Harry, trying to stop herself and failing. But that's not why I find this unsettling. For me, it's the use of music. The song Not Tomorrow is my favorite track from any Silent Hill game. The guitar has this really somber feeling and just elevates this into the scene feeling tragic. And I just felt hollow once I watched this, especially since we hear Lisa banging on the door. The real Lisa Garland was much different from the nice and polite nurse we met. While she was a good person, at least from what we saw, however, she found herself addicted to White Claudia, which was the drug sold across Silent Hill. We don't quite know who got her hooked onto the drug. However, to get more of it, she found herself having to take care of Alessa Gillespie in the basement.
This doctor let me quit being in charge of that patient. It's too weird. Still alive, but with wounds that won't heal. Told the doctor I quit. Won't work at the hospital anymore. The room is filled with insects. Even with doors and windows shut, they get in to spite me. To the hospital. Feeling bad, need to throw up. Nothing comes out. Vomiting only bile. Blood and pus flow from the bathroom faucet. I try to stop it, but it won't turn off. Need drug. Help me.
Really sorry, Lisa. A genuinely terrible fate to one of my favorite characters in the game. As we unlock the key of Haggith, we gain access to the elevator. Going up to the second floor, we find a weird-looking penile tool.
Fucking cock destroyers.
Named the Crest of Mercury. We find the Ring of Contact, and in a completely separate room, we find an old Polaroid camera. And other than that, in a separate room, we find a key behind a slab that we have to unscrew. But the cables are powered by the generator in the basement. Ignore the fact that this is after I unpowered the generator.
I really don't care.
So, going back to the elevator, we go to the third floor, and are met with the church again. But using the camera on the paintings allows us to know what symbols to put in the wall. And the left door has access to the birdcage key, and the right is law, which doesn't work because it's glitched. Look, I'm very mixed on remakes. But why did Silent Hill 2 get a remake when the first game literally has broken law? Whatever, I'm just gonna have the audio for this play.
Investigation stalled. PTV dealers still at large. Suspicious deaths continue. First, the anti-drug mayor, now a narcotics officer, dies of a sudden heart failure of unknown cause. Fire broke out in town. 6 homes destroyed. Charred body of Alessa Gillespie, 7, found in aftermath. Cause of fire currently under investigation. Investigations show source as basement of Gillespie home. Blaze now believed to be caused by malfunction of antiquated boiler. The date of the blaze. It's the same day we found Cheryl.
The Gillespie household was caught in a fire, which left Alessa almost completely left for dead. Then in a comatose state, she was stored in that room in the basement. And if you use the VHS that we found back in the hospital now, we find a note from Lisa confirming her state.
What is it? Still has an unusually high fever. Eyes don't open. Getting a pulse, but just barely breathing. Her skin is all charred. Even when I change the bandages, the blood and pus just start oozing through. Why? What is keeping that child alive? I can't stand it any longer. I won't tell a soul. Promise. So please.
However, when she was in this state, she was able to split herself into 2 separate beings. The state of a nightmare with her deepest fears clawing their way into real life, which killed almost everyone in the town, and decided her innocence, which was taken in the form of a baby. Cheryl is a part of Alessa, and the monsters that we saw are remnants of Alessa's mind. A large majority of creatures take the form of bugs. The twin feeler, the float stinger, the hand scratchers, the creepers, all resemble Alessa's fascination with bugs, which we'll see for ourselves when we go down later. The grey children resemble past bullies, however for reasons we don't quite know yet. The nurses resemble the nurses that took care of Alessa, however twisted due to thoughts that they were only doing this for money. The reason Lisa took so long to become one herself is likely for her realization simply just taking longer, as she spent so much time looking after her in exchange for drugs. The constant references to fairy tales, the key of eclipse, the plates back in the normal Alchemilla are references just to little kids being interested in fairy tales. I also love the monster designs. I definitely think that future games did the monster metaphors way better, but they simply just look really cool. Using the key of Beether, we enter the basement. In the kitchen, we find a sword. However, we need to use the Ring of Contact to fix the chain, or else. And in the storage room, we find a bag of jelly beans. But we open up to a storage room and use the VHS we saw earlier. The last room that doesn't require a key is a room full of bizarre markings and a transparent ghost version of Alessa in tears, which really makes me feel bad for this kid. But inside is a golden ankh. Using the key of whatever the fuck, we open up to the generator and able to switch it off. And run back and grab the key. And this key unlocks Alessa's room again. And we see the ghost/memory things of Dahlia, Dr. Kaufman, and other doctors. And here they discuss Alessa's state, and that she's stuck in her nightmare. And here, they plan to use a spell which will keep her there, and draw Cheryl to Alessa. But as we go back to Alessa's room, we can input all the strange items that we picked up into the coverings on the wall. However, as we go forth, we see the memories of Dahlia as she tries to push her into something, as Alessa's ability is that she can birth the cult's god. And honestly, this just makes me feel nothing but empathy for Alessa. Especially since the reason she was messing around in the town was just to stop Dahlia from forcing Alessa to do this. We go down, following a staircase into a black darkness, and we see Alessa and Dahlia in a ritual space resembling that of where we fought the Splithead. And now, our worst fears are answered.
Where's Cheryl? What have you done to her?
What are you talking about? You've seen her many times, restored to her former self.
I'm in no mood for jokes.
Don't you see? She's right there.
That's absurd.
You are the only one who thinks so.
As Dahlia mocks Harry, she tells him that Cheryl and her have now finally combined, but the ritual is complete, and although the ritual kills Dahlia, it impregnates Alessa with God, and Harry is left to put Alessa out of her misery. Okay, I won't lie, this is a shit final boss. I don't understand how the hell you were meant to dodge the attacks of lightning. So, as a result, I would be forced to deal damage and chuck in health as a result. I'm sorry, Alessa gets effed here. Also, it soft-locked me and I had to restart the entire game. As we put her down, the town crashes onto Harry. And he is killed in the wreckage. But after the credits roll, the camera cuts to Harry in his car, dead. The entire game was something that Harry made up in his mind in his final moments.
What the hell was that?
But that can't be the ending, right? There's so many questions still unanswered. What is White Claudia? What is the deal with Cheryl? And most importantly, we can't possibly end like this, right? Look, just buckle up. We're gonna have to jump back in.
Hey, Jesse. Got you some pizza?
I'm not hungry, but I do appreciate the attempt at humor.
Humor?
Never mind.
Actually, I have something else. That pyramid guy, we stumbled across each other, and he found this tape.
Wait, do we watch it? So first thing we can do is go back to Sybil's boss fight, and there is actually a way we can spare her. If you remember all the way back in the hospital, you don't? Oh. Anyway, if you remember the mysterious liquid, we can actually use it now, and doing so, Harry splashes it onto her. But we see the parasite crawl out of her in what looks to be extremely painful. The two sit together and have another conversation.
Harry, why did they take your daughter? Why her?
I'm not sure myself, but you know, Cheryl isn't my biological daughter. I actually haven't told her yet. She probably already knows anyway, though. We found her abandoned on the side of the highway. Nobody knew where she came from. We didn't have any kids of our own. My wife was sick, and it didn't look like she was getting any better. So we took Cheryl in.
So in that case,
there might be some connection between Cheryl and this town.
So what do you do now?
Cheryl is my daughter. I will save her no matter what.
And this is why I like Harry, because he is simply just a dad with great morals. Like, yeah, Cheryl isn't related to him biologically, and despite that he still loves her, and sees her as his daughter, and will do anything to protect her. God, I wish this man was my dad.
I want to beat you to death with a blunt object. Thank you, that's called dad.
Once we make our way back to the end of the game, we see Sybil confront Dahlia, as she does her super evil villain speech.
Just a little longer and all would have been for naught. It's all because of that man. We must be thankful to him. Even though Alessa has been stopped, his little girl has to go. What a pity.
I will pay you to kill yourself.
Other than that, the confrontation stays the same, and we still see Alessa get impregnated, and we still put her down. However, instead of Harry sitting on his own as the town crushes onto him, we have Sybil try to snap Harry out of it so that they can escape, but it's unsure what their fate is. Yay! This ending is so much better! But at least it actually happened this time. Alright, I guess it's time to get the good ending. If you remember that one part of town we just ran out of, we actually decided to take our time and explore. And grabbing the map, we take our time to go into the buildings of this area, just in search of anything. And the first on a little explore mission is Annie's bar, which is Neely's bar back in 2, but ran by an orphan. I didn't write that, it just appeared in the script. As we go inside, we see Kaufman getting attacked by a groaner. The two check on each other's state, making sure they're both okay, but also if either of which have managed to find a way out, that being a fat negative. And maybe that a military rescue service should arrive here soon. But before he leaves, Harry uses this opportunity to ask if he knows about Alessa, but his answer is quick, short, and very untrustworthy.
No.
However, during the attack, Kaufman dropped his wallet.
Kaufman must have dropped this. Looks like it's full of stuff.
Inside is a key to a room in the nearby motel Kaufman has been staying in, as well as a receipt to Indian Runner General Store with a code written on it. Going into the store, unlocking it with a passcode, we find the store completely ravaged, as well as a diary laid out on the desk. August 20th. He came by. I handed over the package the woman left her. September 12th. You should have been Norman's too. Don't want to be involved with the likes of them anymore, but I'm getting creeped out. Even more than before. Thought of leaving town, but I'm afraid of what will happen if I do. The package mentioned in the journal is located in the safe, and inside the safe...
What is it? Drugs?
Yeah, this seems to be that White Claudia stuff we've heard so much about. And considering Kaufman's wallet showed his connection to the store, the fact that the woman in the diary is most likely Dahlia, which we know Kaufman has a connection with from when we saw the two together all the way back in Nowhere, it's most likely that he has some sort of connection to the production and manufacturing of White Claudia. However, it isn't completely certain, so we grab a receipt which gives us a code to enter the motel. And inside this room, we find another journal. September 10th. Took package. Told us it on it for a while. Don't want to get involved, but can't disobey. He's probably linked to the deaths of the mayor and others. So it seems like mysterious murders were also linked to White Claudia as well as Kaufman, but whoever's writing these journals doesn't seem to want to be doing this, but it's most likely forced for whatever reason. Continuing to rummage around this motel room, we find a magnet, that's about it. So we decide to go through Kaufman's room as well. Here we move another shelf. God, I realize this game really likes you pushing shelves out of the way, but we find a small hatch in the ground, with a key too far to reach by hand. So we use the magnet to pick it up, and doing so we find out that this is for a motorbike. I mean, if you go to inspect the motorbike, we see the mysterious liquid vial inside, similar to what we saw in the hospital. Reaching for the vial, Kaufman just so happens to enter the garage at the exact same time. What a coincidence. And also seemed extremely pissed, telling us to mind our own business and actually use that time to find a way out. Also not putting any emphasis on Cheryl, either due to him forgetting or still thinking she's dead. Oh, he also threatens to kill Harry.
Unless you want to die, keep your mind on business.
Feisty one you are!
That guy's gotta be involved in the local drug racket. Man, he was pissed. A hell of a rush, too. That was probably dope in that bottle. Anyway, I can't get involved. My daughter's life is at stake. Our only hope. Guess I wasted my time.
After this exploration, it's certain that Kaufman is the drug kingpin, and what's worse is that he's forced multiple people, including Lisa, and whoever wrote these journals, to essentially do his dirty work, as pay for more White Claudia. I do really like this side quest though, if you can call it that. It doesn't hold your hand, and doesn't force you to explore either. I genuinely felt like I was uncovering a greater mystery looking for codes, by reading journals which showed the proof to be Kaufman as the ringleader. Except for the goddamn rompers, the amount of hate I have for them has no bounds! But doing this little side objective basically locks us into the good ending, and however we deal with Sybil changes the variant of which ending. I'm going to talk about the normal ending first, as I have a reason to believe that is the canon ending, and then I'll talk about good plus. Cool. Going down into the funny, we find Alessa and Dahlia again, and the same evil speech, until we get ready for Dahlia to finish her ritual. Wait, did Dahlia just get shot? Kaufman comes in at the last second only to use the vial that was in the motorbike by throwing at Alessa in a cartoonish over-the-top slowed-down animation. Remember kids, Silent Hill is far more grounded and serious than Resident Evil. Sorry, I promise that this is the campiest that the franchise gets. At least the good games. However, once the liquid does its job, we see something begin to crawl out of her, while the struggling to stay alive Dahlia laughs maniacally. Whatever god the cult believes in crawls out of Alessa in the shape of a demonic monster, with my favorite design in the game. The head looking like a metallic blood-red goat skull with enormous horns, hellish wings, and tits! Though the fight plays out the exact same as the lesser boss, so yeah, I don't like fighting it either. However, I give this an A tier, but her design does some incredible heavy lifting. I don't know, just let me like the cool grunge design. Killing the monster, the town begins to crumble down, and Alessa splits herself into a baby once again, giving Harry another chance to be a father, which he carries out to a bright light. Kaufman tries to shrug everything off as he tries to follow Harry, but he doesn't get off so lucky. And thankfully, Harry makes it out of the town alive with the baby. And after the credits roll, we see the two make it out into a dark, normal town. Oh, also if you save Sybil, she makes it out too, and we see the two look after the baby. I won't lie, in Silent Hill 3, she's never properly addressed, so it's more likely the other ending is canon. But yeah, that's Silent Hill. But we have other shit to talk about. Beating the game and getting the good plus ending, we find ourselves a funny little medallion inside a knockoff 7-Eleven. If you use this funny little medallion in anywhere where there's night sky is visible, we find some funny lights.
That light!
Alright, management says Hannibal Nectar has to cover this. I'm so sorry.
Where the fuck am I? Oh my fucking... hey there, I'm Hannibal Nectar, a rebranded Undertale YouTuber who is currently popular for having the most clueless comment section on a Undertale theory bait video. But we aren't talking about Funny Bone Man Simulator today. Oh, no. Because since I'm still the designated joke ending panda, we're talking about the Silent Hill UFO ending. You know, the ending that fucking makes your ears bleed to get. Yeah, that one. Unlike the Silent Hill 2 joke ending, this one just makes me feel like I'm on crack while drinking vodka at the same time, to be honest. I just don't know how to explain this besides, Harry gets the meanest probing a corn artist could ask for before getting sent away to, I don't know, the freaking Fallout 3 DLC. This ending is probably one of the shorter joke endings, and it still makes me ask questions, like, why was the thing to do in games back then was just to add a alien Easter egg? Like, seriously, why? Why aliens? I'm going off script to rant about this. What is with your obsession with alien people? Answer me, goddammit! You're a bit of a freak, aren't you? You want green balls crammed down your gullet. I know what you are. You're one of them. You're one of those people. And I want your people off the face of the planet. You hear me? You fucking hear?
Is she gone? Right, bonus weapons. And also, yes, I'm using YouTube videos for these. Get off my back. On a second playthrough, we can find a gasoline canister, which we can use for an actual weapon. In a shop, we find this chainsaw, and it's not great. It's really slow and doesn't deal all that much damage. However, under the bridge controls, and also using the gas, we can find a rock drill, and it's a lot better at dealing damage. And also, while in my research for footage of this thing, I found this masterpiece of a video. Last weapon is the Hyper Blaster. Getting the UFO ending, we get a small little alien gun. And similar to the Hyper Spray in Silent Hill 2, the power of it increases the more stars we get in the end rank. Oh, and one more thing. I want to discuss the cutscene you get for finishing the game, which plays like a blooper reel of all the characters in the game just being goofy. But Dahlia giving me a kiss genuinely scares me. She gets a slap in the face. Alright. That was Silent Hill. After months of work, it's finally fucking done. Thank you so much for watching. Also, final thoughts, the game's pretty shit, that's why I made an outro montage. Bye, fucksticks!